Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at Final Fantasy VII for the PS1 as part of the PS1 Classics series that we're going to be starting up. We took a look at some Super Nintendo games already, and yeah, we're just going to move on to PlayStation 1 and probably some Sega Saturn, and then PlayStation 2, some various other systems after that. But yeah, let's take a look at Final Fantasy VII. There's the back of the box. Mine is a release day copy. However, it does not have the error on there with it was like an I or something that was way misprinted on the back of the case, but it only happened for some of them, I think, that were release day issues. But mine was a release day copy and it did not have that. There's the side, and we'll come back around to the front of the box and then take a look at some of the contents. Alright, there we go. Well, let's crack this guy open and take a look at some of the contents. Alright, on the first side of the case opening there is disc 1, along with the instruction manual. These are the PS1 black-coated discs on the other side. And you get that picture of Aerith there with the airship. That's really cool how they did that whole layout there with her portrait and everything with the manual on the other side. And on the second part of the case are the other two discs. And this is just the case underneath there. But back here you get the Sephiroth artwork on that side. And yeah, I think my discs are still in pretty good condition. They all read and everything still. Might need to be buffed out a little bit, but yeah, all still in working condition there. Yeah, let's take a look at the instruction manual as well. This was a big, beefy instruction manual, even for the days that they were, I guess into PS2 time, they kind of went over everything and still included big booklets. This was definitely one of the nicer ones we had for that time. Just because it was following on the feat of Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy VI, and there was a lot of renewed interest. I'm not sure if, like, people that lived through that time, you'll know that there was a lot of renewed interest for RPGs during the PS1 days. A lot of new people that had not played or experienced RPGs before were getting introduced to the franchise, to the series, to Final Fantasy, and there was just a lot of buzz at the time. I think mainly because this was going to be a N64 game that, you know, if you follow that history at all, that Nintendo and Sony kind of got into a bad relationship there, and Square followed suit, and some bad blood, and they ended up going to Sony instead to make this game happen. So there was quite a bit of buzz back in the day for this game. Yeah, it's a really nice full color instruction booklet here. Yeah, I keep saying that in my videos, but I really wish we could get some more stuff like this these days. You can't even buy a art book, or I guess they sell the art book still, but I mean like a game guide that really goes into any kind of detail like they used to have in these manuals. It's crazy to me that they went to the depths of all this printed material back then. And, you know, even if you pay for a special edition these days, sometimes you don't even get something as nice and tangible as this. So, yeah, really nice booklet for its time and everything. Even though we were kind of getting away from the cartridge days and stepping into physical CD realm. But yeah, get a lot of nice stuff with this instruction manual there. So that's a look at the game and everything, and we'll be back in a second. We'll take a look at a couple of the strategy guides. Alright, the first strategy guide I have for this is the Brady Games. I did not use this one. I got this, I think, for free when I was working at Blockbuster Video back in the day. Yeah, former Blockbuster employee from my high school days. But this one, I think, was just in our free bin that they were going to recycle or give away at some point. And I was just like, if we're just getting rid of them, I will take one home. But I remember just even glancing through this one that there was a lot of inconsistencies, and I don't think they even had, if I remember reading right, that they didn't even have a copy of the finished game when they were working on this guide. So yeah, it just seemed like it was not a finished product. And compared to another guide, I'll show you the Versus Books one. The Versus Books one seemed like it was much more thorough. But they must have had something, because they have all the text in here and everything too. So yeah, I'm not sure what they were. Maybe it was an early build of the game or something that they're working off of. But this one just seemed really lackluster and not very. It's got some good information at the end there, but compared to the Versus, I used the Versus one. And I played through the Japanese version of the game first, and I believe this one was also out early, so I was able to use this a little bit to figure some stuff out that, yeah, just, I know it's all like unofficial artwork and stuff, but man, just the way this book was put together. I believe this was put together by the people that did Game Fam magazine, which is also a really excellent magazine at the time if you've never checked that out. But this was, let's see, $10. I guess is a decent price for a guide back then, late 90s. But just from the way it was designed, the way it looked, not just plain white, just a lot more interest, a lot more interesting detail there. The way it was laid out, the way it was presented. But this one I actually used to play through the whole, I believe, English and Japanese versions of the game. Yeah, I think it was that tail end of before the North American game released that this guide came out. So just able to use it a little bit before the actual release. Oh yeah, cool guide. And lastly, we'll take a look at some of the figures that came out, the Extra Knight figures. Alright, and here's a look at some of the Extra Knights figures that came out just shortly after the release of the Japanese version of Final Fantasy VII. Here is the Cloud figure. This figure came with his Buster Sword, the little Braver Sword, a little foot peg that you can put on to stabilize him standing up. He had a little bit of standing issue, so they included that so he could stand up. Here's the back of it. And it just goes over some additional figure details. I think they planned on making a Cid, but there is no Cid in this set, so that was kind of disappointing that they never completed or finished that one. Yeah, let's look at that. And here's Aerith. I'm just going to go numerically right down the line. Comes with her staff, Chocobo, and this one had really limited articulation. I think the legs were all one solid joint, and then the arms just moved around. So they're not the greatest figures, but it's what we had at the time for game representations. And yeah, the back of this one was still showing the the Sid on there as well. I believe these are fairly cheap online on eBay if you're interested in them. They did come out with a Toys R Us version of these, which I think had Cloud, Aerith, Barrett, Tifa, and Red in it, but I think that was just those 5. Barrett comes with nothing. He has his gun, I believe that rotates around the barrel. His arms just move up and down. The legs do not move. The waist does move on this guy, though. And there's the back. Still showing Sid on there. I don't know when they made that change. Maybe when they got to. Yep, here we go. Okay, so there is Red. And Red, standard figure. He does have nice detailing and everything. Let's see if we get a look at it. Better look at his face and stuff through that package. Yeah, he is a nice looking figure. There's the back of the package. And they finally took Sid off of there. Must have realized that either this line was not doing well or they couldn't produce the mold. I am not sure about the story about that one, but we never did get a Sid figure. And it looks like by the time they produced Red was the time that they decided that they were not going through with that one. There's Tifa. Comes with Frog. And she's about as articulated as Cloud. I think her arms move up and down and no movement in the legs at all. It's crazy to see how far they've come with these basic figures to what the new ones, I can't remember the name of them, but they're the Play Arts. There we go, Play Arts Kai. I do not own any of those besides the Lightning one that they made quite some time ago for Final Fantasy 13, but yeah, just a really cool difference in how far they've come. This was one of the last ones. I do not think he was included in that Toys R Us pack. Don't quote me, I can't remember, but this one came out later. Him and Sephiroth came out way after the first 5 I showed you. But yeah, he just comes with not even an accessory, just a gun, a little stand, and yeah, his legs do not move, and he's just got these little ball joints in his arm. Back. And Sid got replaced by Sephiroth at this point. This figured it was probably a better sell of Sephiroth anyway. And last but not least, here he is. Comes with his Mass Immune stand and just basic up and down movement with his arms. And that's it. That is the Extra Knights line. So yeah, close with some final thoughts and we'll be right back. So yeah guys, this has been a look at Final Fantasy VII on the PS1. I remember I picked this game up back in high school after going to school for the day. Me and my buddy Rob, we rode about an hour out to where I had pre-ordered it at to go pick it up. And I pre-ordered it at a Babbage's at the time. And way out of my way just because I used to play arcade games and like Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom and stuff like that at this arcade that was quite a ways away, and just figured, hey, I'd be out in the area anyway, and I pre-ordered it there. And we drove about an hour after school. They did not have it yet. And we ended up waiting for a couple hours. The manager of the Babbage's went to whatever the delivery place was, UPS or FedEx, wherever they were getting their shipment from, and had to actually manually go out and pick it up and bring it back to the store because we had about 50 people waiting in store to pick up their copies. So we waited there for a couple hours and he ended up showing up with them. So got my copy, we rode home, and I apologize to Rob for keeping him out all day, but we had a fun time together, and just an awesome kind of memory to celebrate the game, and thought about that when making this video. So yeah, that's been a look at Final Fantasy VII on the PS1. This is also one extra thing I wanted to talk about just because I haven't seen another person with one of these yet. And I'm actually the original owner of it. It's been through a lot since my teenage days. This is from a KB toy store, and the nice girl working the register at the day that I saw it there, I'm like, man, that looks awesome. I would love to have that at home. They were getting rid of their marketing material, so that's why it never hurts to ask, even if you think you can't have something or whatever, or that it's off limits, or that it's store product. Just ask. You might get a nice person, and if you're nice to them and respectful back to them, and that's all I did. I said, hey, what are you doing with this material? I really like the game a lot. She gave me this, and she gave me a huge poster that I think is might still be back in my parents' house. I'll have to look for it one day. But it was a big, like, I think maybe like 5 foot tall, 3 foot wide poster, along with this Standee. And this Standee I've just kept with me because it's smaller. And yeah, it's just really neat. It's 3D, pops out and everything. It was already kind of in bad condition when I got it from the store. I just salvaged it over the years. But yeah, that's my original Final Fantasy VII Standee from the KB toy store, and just thought that would be an awesome way to show you guys and end this video. So until next time, take care, have fun, and we'll see you soon. All right, guys, thanks so much.